Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Astatara Satta Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Astatara Satta Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Priyamadanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Krishna Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji Temple. First Monday of New Year. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for coming on the first Monday of the new year. Oh, thank you, Mataji. Very much. Narayan namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudiyeta. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi and the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत वित्तम श्लोके bhaktir नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in the class on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with the transcendental songs, established as an irrevocable fact. So today we are reading 10th canto, chapter 1, 56 through 63, and we will discuss 59. So, yes, ma'am, we can start.
56. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki, the mother of God, and all the demigods gave birth to a child. Thus she bore 8 sons, one after another, and a daughter named Subhadra.
Vyasadeva was very much disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. Thus, with great pain, he delivered his firstborn son, named Kirtiman, into the hands of Kamsa.
What is painful for saintly persons who strictly adhere to the truth? How could there not be independence for pure devotees who know the Supreme Lord as the substance? What deeds are forbidden for persons in the lowest character, and what cannot be given up for the sake of Lord Krishna by those who have fully surrendered at his lotus feet?
My dear King Parikshit, when Kamsa saw that Vasudeva, being situated in truthfulness, was completely equipoised in giving him the child, he was very happy. Therefore, with a smiling face, he spoke as follows.
O Vasudev, you may take back your child and go home. I have no fear of your first child. It is the 8th child of you and Devaki I am concerned with, because that is the child by whom I am destined to be killed.
Vasudeva agreed and took his child back home, but because Kamsa had no character and no self-control, Vasudeva knew that he could not rely on Kamsa's word.
The inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, and including his associate cowherd men and their wives, were none but denizens of the heavenly planets, O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the descendants of Bharat, and so too were the descendants of the Vrishni dynasty, headed by Vasudeva and Devaki, and the other women of the dynasty of Yadu. The friends, relatives, and well-wishers of both Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva, and even those who externally appeared to be followers of Kamsa, were all demigods.
Thank you very much. So we'll go back to 59, and then we will discuss how Prabhupada explains this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Drashtva samatvam tachorehe Satve chaiva vivasthitam kasastushtamana rajan kamsast prahasan idam abravita Drashtva samatvam tachorehe Satve chaiva vivasthitam Kansastushtamana rajan Prahasan idam abravita
Samatvam tachore
Drashtva samatvam tachorehe Chaiva vivasthitam
Kamsastusta Maharajan
Kansastushtamana rajan
Prasanna Idam Abravit
Prahasanna idam abravit Drashtva samatvam tachore Satve chaiva vivasthitam Kansastushtamana rajan Prahasan idam abravit Drashtva samatvam tachorehe Satve chaiva vivasthitam Kansastushtamana rajan Prahasan idam abravit Drashtva samatvam tachore Synonyms: Drashtva, by seeing; Samatvam, being equipoised, undisturbed in distress or happiness; Tat, that; Sareha, of Vasudev; Satye, in truthfulness; Cha, indeed; Eva, certainly; Vyavasthitam, the firm situation; Kamsa, Kansa; Tushta Manaha, being very satisfied with Vasudev's behavior in delivering the first child to keep his promise; Rajan, O Maharaj Parikshit; Prahasan, with smiling face; Idam, this; Abravit, said. Translation: My dear King Parikshit, when Kansa saw that Vasudev, being situated in truthfulness, was completely equipoised in giving him the child, he was very happy. Therefore, with a smiling face, he spoke as follows, which was the next verse. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The word samatvam is very significant in this verse. Samatvam refers to one who is always equipoised, unaffected by either happiness or distress. Vasudev was so steadily equipoised that he did not seem in the least agitated when delivering his firstborn child into the hands of Kansa to be killed. In Bhagavad Gita 2.56, it is said, Dukesha anudivigna manaha sukesha vigta spraha. in the material world, one should not be very eager to be happy, nor should one be very much disturbed by material distress. Lord Krishna advised Arjuna, Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkhada agama pai no nityas tams sikshta bharataha. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Bhagavad Gita 2.14. The self-realized soul is never disturbed by so-called distress or happiness. This is especially true of an exalted devotee like Vasudeva, who showed this by practical example. Vasudeva was not at all disturbed when delivering his first child to Kansa to be killed. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadatim Swapadantikam Vanchatalpakarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Kaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all, very senior Bhagavatas sitting here who are very learned. I pay my humble obeisances to all of you. With no qualification, I'll try to read and share what I learned in last few classes. I think Srinath Krishna Prabhu talked a lot about this topic on Saturday. And we also discussed one very important topic that day, duplicity versus simplicity. That how Vasudeva is being duplicitous here, but at the same time he is very spiritual, because duplicity, we have heard from so many of our senior Vaishnava and Maharaj, is actually not something that is very conducive to our spiritual journey. And then what I understood from the class was that duplicity on the spiritual platform is not good, but duplicity in the material situation for the upliftment of his spiritual thoughts is very, very important, so that we do not entangle into a lot of material activities on the material platform and waste our time. So I'll read a little bit from the readings that Srila Prabhupada did in 1972 on this topic with his disciples in Vrindavan, which was Janmashtami Day, and it was Krishna book reading. So it's a little bit longer, but it is about this topic. And then he has some thoughts that he kind of shared in this talk around the same topic. Vasudeva thus requested Krishna not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone, because envy is the cause of fear both in this world and in the next, when one is before Yamaraj, the Lord of punishment after death. Vasudeva appealed to Kamsa on behalf of Devaki, stating that she was his younger sister. He also appealed at an auspicious moment at the time of marriage. A younger sister or brother are supposed to be protected by one's children. The position is overall so delicate, Vasudeva reasoned, that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. Vasudeva tried to pacify Kamsa by good instructions as well as by philosophical discrimination. But Kamsa was not to be pacified because his association was demonic. And this was an important lesson that we take from this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam in this story, that how association of a demonic person can change our thought process completely. Because of his demonic association, he was always a demon, although born in a very high royal family. A demon never can cause any good. A demon never cares for any good instruction. He is just like a determined thief. Is equal to one can give his moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demonic or atheistic by nature can assimilate, and can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. And this is why, when we are preaching also, unless we are at that elevated platform, in my personal experience, I have actually left some of the situations where it is very difficult for me to handle. I've been in a situation where people would say that, oh, this is Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and it does not give anything other than Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. I mean, right from chapter 1, verse 1, he's talking, we need something more on philosophy. So there is a point in time we can have an argument, but when someone is determined that I hate Prabhupada or I hate this Bhagavad Gita, there's not much you can do. So I have left many times from those discussions. Similarly, those who are demonic or atheistic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. That is the difference between demigod and demon. Those who can accept good instruction and try to live their life in that way are called demigods, and those who are unable to take good instructions are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kansa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife Devaki. When there is an imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if, in spite of the endeavoring by all intelligence, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties. But if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. I think this is what we discussed on Saturday also, that, what should be the endeavor? And in this case, we were talking about the duplicity part, that, Vasudeva is praising Kansa, knowing that he is not worthy of praising. Vasudeva is still, trying to give him good reasons by praising him, and that how great he is, so that he can spare the life of his wife. And there were multiple thoughts going on. I read a little bit more after that class. That one is he has full faith in Krishna. There is no doubt about that. And with that faith, now he's making an endeavor to serve Krishna there. That is number one. Second is, as his duty to save his wife, he is making everything possible in his capacity to pacify Kansa, so that from that immediate danger, he can make sure that his wife is saved, and then he knows that Krishna will take care after that. So that full faith is there, and he's doing what is right thing to do at that time and not giving up at all. I think that was one of the things that we were discussing, that why would he do that? And if I asked the question that, in Draupadi's situation, she's raising her hands, and here he's making his own endeavor to the best possible extent. And really in both cases, actually both of them have full faith in Krishna. So there is no reason for us to doubt. From both stories, we have a lot of learning there. Then they're reading further. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows: For the present, let me save the life of Devaki. Then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them. He further thought, if in the future I get a child who can kill Kansa, just as Kansa is thinking, then both Devaki and the child will be saved from the law of providence. Because the law of providence is inconceivable, but now, some or the other way, let me save the life of Devaki. There is no certainly how a living entity contacts a certain type of body, just as there is no certainty how the blazing fire comes in contact with certain type of wood in the forest. When there is forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful and fearful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he is going to get in the next life. Maharaj Bharata was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance he contacted temporary affection for a deer, and he had to accept his next life in the body of a deer. Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kamsa with great respect. Although Kamsa was the most sinful man, sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kamsa, a most vicious person. That is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggravated, he presented himself outwardly as cheerful. He addressed the shameless Kamsa in that way because he was atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kamsa, "My dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You are awaiting some danger because you have heard a prophetic voice in sky. But the danger is to come from the sons of your sister who are not present now. And who knows, there may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present. Nor is there a cause of fear from your sister. If there is any sons born of her, I promise that I shall present all of them to you for necessary action." And this is where Srila Prabhupada in the translation saying, "Matra sparshastu kanteya sitoshna sukha dukkhada." I mean, it's extremely, extremely painful for a parent to lose their child. It is unbelievable pain that only the person who goes through can even imagine, which is not planned. And here Vasudeva is presenting that I am going to give you my child. And so this Matra Sparshastu Kanteya verse is such an amazing and beautiful verse of Bhagavad Gita that allows actually even to have a conversation with atheist. And from preaching perspective, I typically use this verse because it is just now, I'm meditating on this all the time, that how do one be equipped in your success and failures together, or in winter and summer seasons, how it goes ups and down. It is extremely difficult, especially when things are going great. We tend to forget, in my case, we tend to forget the spiritual practices, doing more seriously and properly. It also intoxicates. On a material platform, success actually intoxicates more than when we have distress. We already know that. And this is where, unfortunately, every generation actually taught in the material world that this is the definition of success. And if you're not successful, if you're not intoxicated, if you are not dissatisfied, then you're not called successful. And that is how the whole structure outside of our spiritual life is actually created. And this is how the corporation, this is how the job structure, this is how the relationship, this is how the community actually that works, that which is opposite of Matra Sparshastu Kanteya. And that is what makes our life extremely difficult. Especially, I keep bringing this point that when our children are going to school and colleges, that is exactly what they have to go through every single day. That how do I brag my success? How do I be successful? And how do I, even at the cost of bringing others down, be successful? And that is what has happened at jobs, that has happened at the school. One time I was mentoring a daughter of my friend. She was at one of the Ivy League school. I think she was at Rutgers or somewhere, yeah, like that. And then she called me one day I was kind of a mentor, so she would call me because, parent and daughter were not going along very well, which is very normal sometimes. Not daughter, any children, especially when they're teenager and going to college, they think that they know everything. I've gone through that. So she calls me and she says that, actually for father called me, that something is wrong with my daughter, can you talk to her? And I called, and then she called me back and she said that I don't want to get up from my room. I feel like I should leave my body and I should kill myself. And I'm sitting here and say, oh my God, what do? I just have no clue how to help her. And then we were on the video call and saying that, okay, no, you need to get up, you need to get your breakfast. And I spent like more than 2 hours just talking, and I don't know what I'm talking, and I'm praying to Guru and Prabhupada that please help me here. I don't know how to help her. Eventually she said that, so, over the period of next few days, I invited her to Dallas. She stayed here. And I tried to find what is it that is causing this. And the few disturbing things I learned, which I've shared in past also, I think, in some class here, that one is that I asked her, did you ask for help? And she said, yes. I went to the doctor in the campus. I said, what did they say? They gave me antidepressant medication. I said, okay, that is one part of it, but how do you really eliminate that? You can't be on medication all the time. And she calls me uncle. She said, oh, uncle, why are you worried? Half of the campus is on antidepressants. Really? And then I actually inquired, pretty much in every campus, that is very common thing. Second thing, then I asked that, do you not have friends who can help you? Why are you sitting by yourself and not be with friends? I learned a new term, which some of you might know. It's called snake friends. Have you heard that? No? She said, these are called snake friends, meaning everybody has to be successful. And in that mode of ignorance to be successful, they have to use you, leverage you, whatever you're doing, take your homework, everything, and present it as their research or finding or anything. And hence they become successful. But when you need them, they are not going to be there. That's called snake friends. So something was very profound, that it is actually very prevalent, not in just schools and colleges, but also at job. The definition of success at job is that you should never be satisfied from what you have achieved. Because if you are satisfied with what you have achieved, the next thing comes is that you are actually a fool who should not get raised, promoted, etc., and be used. And that is what is pretty much reflected. This verse always remind me of that. That matra spashasya kanteya, that this is how we teach our children and our family members, and that is how they live, not being happy all the life. Pretty much entire life goes, old age, disease, and death comes, and they leave the body, and nobody is happy. And that is called success. Now you can meet with extremely successful people in this world. They still do not know what are they chasing. Whether it is richest, whether it is most educated, whether it is most famous, whether it is most healthy, all these opulences that we talk about. There are so many examples from from the spectrum, whether it is the field of sports, whether it's field of media and Bollywood, Hollywood, whether it is field of politics. Everywhere you can find these examples who are chasing a goal without knowing what exactly are they trying to do in this life. Nobody has an idea. That is why this is called the most confidential knowledge. Okay, so I'll read the last part of it. Kansa knew the value of Vasudev's word of honor, and he was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus Vasudev was pleased and praised the decision of Kansa. In this way, he returned his home. So Srila Prabhupada, in his conversation after this reading to his disciples says, and I'll just read exactly what he says. And this is in context of the question answer happening that, oh, even Kansa was meditating on Krishna. Right? Everybody knows that is not Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said. Kansa was always thinking of Krishna, but it is not Krishna consciousness because he was thinking of Krishna as enemy. Bhakti, Krishna consciousness means not as enemy. If we think of Krishna adversely, that is not Krishna consciousness. We must think of Krishna in terms of love and service. That is Krishna consciousness. That is the distinction between the demon and the demigod. The demigods or devotees, they think of Krishna favorably in terms of satisfying Krishna. And the demons also sometimes think of Krishna always, but not favorably, unfavorably. So thinking of Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness. That there is the distinction. And the conversation goes on. So the condition of today's world, where we mostly see the guna which is more prevalent is mode of ignorance and mode of passion, is so well described in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, which is the divine and demonic nature, which is 16.13 through 15, those 3 verses. I'll read the translation of that. The demonic person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now. It will increase in future more and more. He is my enemy and I have killed him. And my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some in charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. This is how predominantly we develop our character in today's world in Kali Yuga. When I say we, means I'm not saying this community here. We means that in general, as a human society, that we develop, and it is not different than what we saw in Kansa's story. Right? So much wealth I have today, I'm going to gain more according to my scheme. He is my enemy, I have killed him. And my other enemies will also be killed. So he's trying to do the same thing. And that is exactly what is happening today. Why do we have so many wars? Why do we have this whole land fights going on in all over the world? Why do we have people suffering today? Why do we have politicians so corrupt in some part of the world? Why do we have this whole corporate structure structured like that? I keep thinking of, when I think of my clients, hopefully nobody fires me if they're hearing it, is that, there are certain clients, they have these advertisements that, use this, you will be young forever. It is the same shampoo every year. Nothing changes except the bottle. And they're multi-billion-dollar company. And they know that's not going to happen, but they spend so much of money. And now they use this AI-driven marketing to go inside our mind to see how we manipulate this mind. And so whether it is TikTok, Instagram, whether it is, Facebook, whatever it is, all of this is being used now on the social media. How do I sell more and more so that I can become rich? Exactly like this verse. So much wealth I have today, I'm going to be more rich. And I'm going to kill you slowly. And use you and create a generation who's going to be killed again and again. So you produce more child, they become more adult, and then my company and I become more rich. That is called AI-driven marketing. It is really, there is nothing that is there to save the minds. It is just going to corrupt more and more. So we should be very thankful to Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara and the Vaishnavas here, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj who built this society here, this temple here for us, to really take a step back and think through what is happening around us. Sometimes we forget, because we are here every day, we forget that just in the outer rings exists everything what we are reading in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not what happened 5,000 years back. It is there. And so we have to be extremely careful in the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas, all the Mahabhagavats who are sitting here. And hopefully we can serve our Guru and Guru Parampara properly. Thank you very much. I would love to hear from all of you, your experiences and corrections.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am reminded of this point about the foundation of our economic models is inherently unsustainable because it's based on unlimited growth,
Yes.
whereas the resources we have are not unlimited.
Very limited.
And so it's just such a simple, obvious misalignment with reality, and the whole world is functioning on this false foundation. And I remember being a college student, learning about the economic collapse of the planet and just feeling horrified. And I don't feel as horrified because I have a foundation of Krishna conscious knowledge and practice now. But still, after hearing what you're saying, we can feel a bit gloomy about the future. So can you help us see that there's hope?
Well, that is why we are sitting here. Hope is Srila Prabhupada. Actually, there is absolutely no hope. There is absolutely no hope if we do not get this. And what you all do, amazing service of book distribution, is the only way, and the preaching is the only way to help others to understand. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada would not have come here. He would not have come here after, we all know the story of, decades of spending time in Vrindavan, and how much suffering he has gone through in India, even before he came to Vrindavan, how much of rejection he has gone through. It is unbelievable. We cannot even imagine that, to be in that shoes. And yet he wanting to come here to give this, is that hope that we can go back to Godhead. And we all have to just play a part. He created an opportunity really for us. Sometimes when I meditate on this, that, do I have the capability to actually serve my Guru? And the answer always comes that absolutely no. He does not even need to be served, in terms of that, he knows what he's doing, right? But he creates an opportunity for us, a little bit teeny tiny, where we can feel good that sparrow who's helping build the bridge along with Hanuman, that we are doing some service. And in that process, we can pure ourselves. So here Srila Prabhupada has created this amazing infrastructure for us to serve and purify ourselves and help others in this process. Hopefully, somebody will hear us. But there is no other hope. I keep bringing this example of these amazing Olympians. Actually, this is interesting. Even though I mostly quote these two examples, which is Michael Phelps, right, who is 10 gold medal, and then Simone Biles, who is our gymnastic, best of the person on this planet so far in terms of gymnastic. Both have gone through pretty serious, matra sparshas to Kanteya. At the top of the career, but don't know what to do. They both are suicidal. Like Michael Phelps, after getting these 10 gold medals, comes back and say, I want to commit suicide. Why? Because we don't know what to do. And there is no one to guide us. They have coaches, mentors. They all are on the same path. Simone Biles, she backtracked from that Olympic, previous one, say on the floor, representing United States of America, the best team in the world, most decorated gymnast, say, I cannot do this. I'm not going to do it. Imagine how much. So it is not just these two. I studied so many of them. Pretty much every country, each of these successful people are going through so much of trouble in their heart that they don't know what to do after this. You can talk about the richest people on the planet. They don't know what to do after next project, next big thing. You know, you must have heard the phrase, the next big thing. What is the next big thing? And everybody's just thinking that, you know, if you know these hikers who go on, you know, hiking, they reach to the top, and then they think they're at the top, and then they see another peak behind it. Oh my God, I need to conquer that. That's all we are doing in the material world and wasting resources. So, ray of hope is Srila Prabhupada, for sure. And all of what you're doing is what we need to do more and more. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. You beautifully connected the purport to the harsh reality in today's day and age. That reminded me of one of the lectures of His Holiness Radhana Swami. He spoke on, I think, futility of material existence or material world, something like that. So he mentioned a beautiful point, speaking about the duality, the verse that is quoted in the purport, Matra Sparshastu, and you spoke about the success, right? So he said, beautiful statement, he said, in this prison cell, Durga, right, the material world, everybody's suffering because of failures and this and that. But there are those who are, so to say, successful. They are the prisoners of their own success, he said. And he said, why they are prisoners of their own success? Because there is constant demand to maintain the success, number one. And number two, there is a fear of loss, losing the success. And then I was also thinking, you spoke about the antidepressants. They don't know how to get to the root of the problem. Whereas we are so fortunate here, we know, like Krishna says in Gita, 2nd chapter, Dvandvatito Matsara. So basically envy, that is the root of this duality. And we have the antidepressant here, which is the kirtan, right?
Yeah.
Which helps us to revive our love for Krishna through chanting of the holy names.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Yes, Mataji.
Oh, you made me remember, Prabhu, thank you for the class, by the way. A few years ago, I watched a documentary on Olympians, and it was specifically about their lives after the Olympics, and they all shared how they struggled in the way that you said, because their whole lives, their identity, like what they ate, when they woke up, what they did for every minute, every hour of the day was about getting to the Olympics and about being the best. And I remember one of them said, it wasn't even about, you know, coming back. It's, you can't even celebrate your achievement because if you don't have the gold medal, he said, because nobody remembers who got the silver medal.
Yes.
So it's just this incredible heightened pressure, and then they come back and they have no identity.
Yes.
And they all fall into so much depression and, like you, substance abuse, and it's truly like their minds are just so messed up because of trying to achieve. But also, I was thinking the reason I ended up here in ISKCON is because after college I was depressed. Like my whole life I'd been a great student, and I just kind of always thought, okay, I'm going to get an A on this, and then I'm going to nail this project, and then I have this piece I'm working on, and then, you know, I get this scholarship. And so my whole life was just like lining up these things. And then once college was over, it was just, why am I so miserable? I did everything people told me to do my whole life, and I'm not happy. And my parents couldn't help me. Nobody really understood why I was miserable, but it took me a couple of years. And eventually I found the Bhagavad Gita, and like all of those kind of anxieties went away. So as you said, Srila Prabhupada he gives us the medicine through Bhagavad Gita. So whatever anybody can do to give that book to others, you know, I'm an example of how much it helped me.
Thank you for sharing, Mataji. Prabhuji wants to say something.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
sorry, Mataji.
Oh, did someone else want?
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I just find this really inspiring because it kind of shakes up the dust of just the whole illusion in a very profound way, and it inspires me to approach people on book distribution with more of a questioning of their suffering instead of, hey, we have, here's what we have, but instead of like really provoking them to look like you're in pain, look, and not in a way that's aggravating, but really just asking like, what's the purpose of your life?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you living? How do you feel? And like just making them really look at themselves and realize like there's no point to a material existence, and that there's something to do, instead of just to grovel in it.
Yeah.
And that there's a very simple remedy, and when we take up a process of purification of the heart, that natural happiness can come to the surface. It's very organic, it's very simple, but people just want to cover up and continue to degrade everything that they have instead of really taking to the simple process of Krishna consciousness. So I appreciate this. I'm going to go out today and
thank you very much. I think what
do
you
some
do is not an
questioning.
easy thing, because this question when you ask that, what are you doing, what is the purpose, etc. It is so ingrained in that person's life. Say suppose if they are in middle of their age, 45, 50, 30 years of time they've spent just learning that this is how it is supposed to be. So it's very hard to go through that, but only with the pure heart like yours, what you do and service that you do, you can actually go immediately into their heart. Very, very beautiful. Thank you very much. Mataji.
Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. You were talking about, so much wealth do we have now. You quoted that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, and we'll have more and more wealth, right? So I was remembering when Srila Prabhupada in the early years was at Dynapan printing to get his books printed. And there was an executive there, and Prabhupada, the contrast, asked him, what is your goal? And he took all the business cards that were on the table and then lined them up and put his on top. That was his goal. His goal was to be the top executive and step on everyone else. So it was a stark difference between his profound material desires to be the top of the heap, to be the most wealthy, and Prabhupada being so humble.
Yeah.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Mataji has.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, I was just thinking, because we often hear and speak about how materialistic people are so stressed and depressed and messed up. But, devotees have a purpose, and we have the source of happiness, and we have the panacea for all problems. But then, the reality is that many devotees are also stressed and depressed and anxious and have, I wouldn't say, I would almost say that the percentage of mental health situations within the devotee community is not a less percentage than outside.
It is not.
So,
but we have hope. We have tools.
Yeah. I'm just saying, my question is, how is it that because we have the recipe for happiness, we have purpose, we have all the things that are supposed to give us happiness, but somehow there's still all these real situations.
I know you're asking this question for my own purification, Mataji. So I'll try to share what I understand. The answer is in our chapter, The Three Modes of Material Nature.
that even if we are in devotional service, some of us, especially where I am coming from, I'm still struggling with my three modes every day. I'm still spending my 8 to 10 hours with the people and actually trying to be successful on a material platform. I'm still struggling, even as a devotee, that, oh, you know what, today I'm going to cook and I want people to come and praise me that, oh, your feast was better than the previous feast. Something like that, right? Those are still the thoughts going on in my mind and heart as a devotee, which is absolutely not on the pure platform, where I have not surrendered to my Guru and Krishna yet. And because I'm still in the process of that surrendering, I'm still fighting with my three modes every single day as a devotee. And my ignorance many times is at the top. My mode of passion is many times at the top, that, you don't know how to do this service and I'm going to tell you and I can do faster, and I'm stressed. And I'm still trying to deal with my relationships at home with my daughters, my wife, with my mother, with my other family members, that I'm going to fix it. And I, in that process, forget that I am not the center. And I still trying to be the center. And so as my children, my wife and everybody, we all are still trying to be that center, the very thing that Srila Prabhupada is saying, we are not the center. And so we need more of your associations, really, as a devotee community of the senior devotees. And, we tend to take it for granted. That's what I also understood. One thing, that when I'm here in this safe space, I am again taking it for granted that all this is baseline, meaning that this should always be there. Everybody should be helping me, and I'm the most important person. My service is most important. And really, thinking of others as small, whether it is deity cooking, whether it is giving class here, whether, cleaning somewhere. I have experienced that whenever I am in those services, I feel I am very important. And that is the cause of what I go through, something similar you described as a devotee community, that I still am distressed, both at home and here. So hopefully, in my understanding, one day when the association and really understanding the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that we can control our, not control, but we are really beyond the three modes of material nature. Prabhuji, you were saying, adding something?
In this context, I was thinking Bhagavad Gita started because of Arjuna's going into depression. Then we see Dhruva Maharaj, right? So it is not that devotees won't face, the rain we can't stop, but we have the Krishna conscious umbrella. And Prabhupada also, at one point of time, I was reading, he was thinking, why did I take sannyas? So it's not that it's not going to happen. Even to Mahabhagavats like Dhruva Maharaj, Arjuna, right, and Prabhupada, these things happen. But there is this famous statement, right? Threefold miseries, they are mandatory, right? But the suffering is optional. So misery is definitely going to be there, and since we are there in this body, it's a bad bargain. But the best use is Krishna consciousness. This is for myself.
And this verse also, that Matra Spashas Kante, it ends with that one should be, not impacted by both. My understanding is that is the start of the yoga process. And that is so hard to be there. Fighting with these three modes, it's so hard to be there that I am not impacted. Even today, after so much of time spent with devotees and being in Bhakti Rakshas, stock market goes down, and I get a memo from my company, oh my God, we have to do this, and this. Everybody's panicking, and I get panic. And I'm, what is happening to me? It is because I really have to make a decision at some point of time to leave that association and be outside, and that is where I struggle that I am not actually leaving that association, even though I'm trying to be in the site. So some of you, especially brahmacharis, I kudos to them that, what they have done is phenomenal. And what many of you have done is phenomenal. It is not easy where you all are. So I look forward to learning from all of you, and especially you, Mataji. You have done so much for the community. Thank you very much. But we have 2 more minutes. I was told 8:40 in previous class.
Hearing all your reflections in your class and all the devotee reflections, I was thinking like outside world, when, for example, you're giving the example of Olympics and people who are very successful financially, you think because they are all depressed, they don't know what to do next because it's all based on external validation. And Krishna consciousness gives us more peace, more sanctity, because it's all internal process. Because we are trying to, and also we are reporting to a person who is not judgmental. Like we go stand in front of Radha Kalachandji, it's unconditional love. There is no judgment, there's no criticism. But the people who outside world who are trying to go after success, they are all depressed because they are looking for external validation, and that external people are judgmental, critical, and conditional. They love those things. And the second part was on Prabhupada Priya Mataji's realization is, you think that in Krishna consciousness we are still depressed because we are not, like for example, a patient goes to a doctor, the disease is cured only if you take the proper diet and the medicine. Probably in Krishna consciousness we are not following the proper diet and medicine exactly given by our acharyas. So what are your thoughts on these 2 things?
Thank you, Mataji. I think it goes to the fundamental principle that Srila Prabhupada starts with, I am not this body. And if you see the midlife crisis point that happens, what we call in the external world, it is also happening to many of us. The midlife crisis is nothing but the identity crisis. Because we learn to associate and create our identity with things, relationships, externally. It is not very easy to give up. This 2.13 and 2.14, these are the 2 verses we are discussing here in principle. Midlife crisis, as I share from my experience, that it starts in the elementary school. The moment kid is born, the child is born, we give him all the identities which has nothing to do with the soul. And then things come. If my child is not going with iPhone 16 or 17 to school, there is no identity of that child. So they learn right from day one that my parents have their identity with the title, with these things. I have my identity with these things, and this is how I grow up. And that goes on. And eventually, we don't know. We are lost, and we know that it is never going to satisfy. And so the foundation and the seed of depression type of activity starts right when we are born. Nobody is really, except probably devotee community, nobody's reading Srimad Bhagavatam before the child is born. Everybody's actually watching these movies, which is creating more problem for the child. So it is that cycle, Mataji. Right from before even birth, we are learning what is not my identity, what is my material identity, and that continues. So that causes this problem. And it is very hard, and that leads to, even as some of us who are into the devotional life, we are struggling with our material identity actually, to give up that and truly accept that we are Satchidanand, we are really truly the servant of the Krishna. Is that acceptance is not happening in our heart. We are struggling with that, and that is why we struggle even as devotee. That's my experience, not necessarily the answer. Yes, ma'am. You can break all the rules because you set the rules here.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for wonderful discussion. And I really want to appreciate the point of not taking the medicine. I find in my life also, and my husband's here, he can validate, that I get into like a lot of depression also. And what I question is, am I taking the medicine sincerely? And every time I take taking the medicine sincerely, sure enough, things start taking off. And the other point of taking the medicine, sometimes we feel, oh, we have to take care of all these other people, make sure they are taking the medicine in some form. But just like, in the airplanes, they say, first protect yourself, then protect your children. So we sometimes forget to take that medicine ourselves, and so sure enough, we feel weakened and bewildered. So I feel like every time I take to the process seriously, I am more situated and I can help others.
Yes.
So that
Thank you very much. That's a very important point, Mataji. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you very much, everybody. It is 8:43. I sincerely appreciate your association and your wisdom. Vancha talpurvasya kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.